Hello everyone! Kumusta po kayong lahat? Sana lahat kayo nasa mabuting kalagayan and welcome to our YouTube channel para sa mga bago pa lang bumisita sa ating channel and of course, welcome back sa lahat po ng ating mga suking subscriber. And we're on for another video. This time, we're moving on to the second non-classroom observable indicators which is from Objective 11 of RPMS tool for Proficient Teacher for school year 2022 to 2023. Ayan, dire-diretso na tayo para matapos na tayo sa ating 15 objectives. And with that, let us start our video for today sa ating pa-shout out. Okay. I would like to start with Ma'am Bernadette Irma Cabalya. Sabi niya, hello po, Teacher Rocky. Keep safe po. Maraming salamat, Ma'am. And another one from Sir Jose Brazil Bencito. Hehehe, tagal po kitang hinihintay, Teacher Rocky. Na-miss ka po namin. Thanks po sa video ito para po sa Objective 8. More blessings po. Thank you so much po, Sir. Maraming salamat po sa paghihintay. Another one from Ma'am Christina Turla. Sabi niya, hello Teacher Rocky. At may isa pa siyang sinabi. Sabi niya, Teacher Rocky, pa-share naman po ng sample ng lesson plan. Thank you po. Nakakuha na siya. Finalo niya na yung instruction natin. Kaya, thank you so much Ma'am Christina. And we also have from Jodel Lezada. Ito po ay aking former student. I miss you, ma'am. I miss you na din, anak. Miss ko na kayong lahat. And I also have from Ma'am Florentina Ferrer. Hello po. Hi, ma'am. And then from Glenny Lura. Morning po, ma'am. Good morning din po sa inyong lahat. From Ma'am Maribel Tarayaw. Hello po, ma'am. Nag-email po ako sa inyo, ma'am. Pasensya na po, pero hindi ko na po ginagamit kasi yung email na ginamit natin before. Kaya ako nagawa ng Facebook page. Kasi nga po, as of today, I am officially resigned from DepEd. So, pwede na pong makat yung ating DepEd account. Kaya, hindi ko na po ginagamit just to be sure. So, please stick to our instruction po. Ano ang ginagamit na natin na yung ating Facebook page. Anyway, we also have from Ma'am Chris Pearl, Washington. Hello po, mabuti po at nagbalik na po kayo. Sana tuloy-tuloy na po ulit ang vlog po ninyo. Sana nga po. Maraming salamat po. Thank you so much. And from Ma'am Christine de Los Angeles. Pwede po makishare sa lesson plan po? Yes po, I hope si Ma'am Christine ay nakasunod na sa ating instruction on how to request for free template. Binibigay naman natin yan. You just have to follow the instruction. Tapos, sabi niya pa, thank you po for sharing. Ayan, mukhang na-sharean na natin si Ma'am Christine. Nag-thank you na siya. And we also have from Ma'am Grace Irene Rebuyas. Hello, Teacher Rocky. Hi po, Ma'am Grace. Kamusta ka na? We also have from Ma'am Jesusa Fernandez. Pwede pa share po ng soft copy. Pwede po. Ulitin ko po uli. Kung gusto nyo pong mag-request ng kahit anong template po na na-i-post ko or na-i-share ko sa ating mga videos, kahit ano po dyan, pwede nyo po i-request. You just have to subscribe to our channel. Tapos, take a screenshot of your subscription. Yung makikita po na subscribe, nakalagay na ganon. I would also want you to hit that notification bell to bell all. Yung bell po na may ganon sa magkabilang gilid. Para po lagi kayong updated pag meron tayong mga bagong video. Marami na po akong natanggap na messages na ngayon lang nila nakita yung video, buti na lang nakita nila. Kasi po, hindi kayo naka-bell all. Kung naka-bell all kayo, every time, manonotify kayo ni YouTube pag nag-upload tayo, kaya hindi po kayo mahuhuli. Marami na tayong mga ganyang experience. Especially dun sa ating video about zero fee ng NCQA assessment, nanghihinayang ako. Ang dami nila na nagme-message sa akin na ngayon lang nila nakita yung video, wala na, face out na yung zero fee. Kaya, yun, ang dami na namang kwento ni Teacher Rocky. Anyway, dire-diretso na tayo. Medyo mahaba ang video na to, but I want you to watch from beginning to end para wala po kayong malagpasan ng mga detalye tungkol po sa pagbuo ng objective number 11. So let us discuss about objective 11. which is another non-classroom observable indicator for the RPMS tool for Proficient Teachers for school years 2022 to 2023. Monitored and evaluated learner progress and achievement using learner attainment data. For this objective, we are required as proficient teacher to be able to monitor and evaluate the progress and achievement of our learners through different learner attainment data. So from our RPMS tool, this is under KRA for assessment and reporting. Objective is to monitor and evaluate learner progress and achievement using learner attainment data. Because this is non-classroom observable indicator, hindi po rating sheet ang ating means of verification, but any one of the following. Lahat naman to, I'm sure familiar tayo lahat. Individual learning monitoring plan, peer assessment data, sample of learners' output with reflection or self-assessment, progress charts or anecdotal records, class, e-class record or grading sheets, lesson plan showing index of mastery, frequency of errors with identified least or most mastered skills, any equivalent ALS form or document that highlights the objective for ALS teachers, and others. Please specify and provide annotation. For this objective, we will be rated as to the quality and timeliness of our attachment. So for under the quality, we'll get 1 point pag wala tayong nai-attach na means of verification. 2 points kung ang ating nai-attach will only show that we monitored and evaluated learner progress achievement based on existing grade level. Isang buong grade level ang pinakita natin na progress and achievement ng ating estudyante. We'll get 3 points if we were able to monitor and evaluate learner progress achievement based on class attainment data. Hindi lang isang buong grade level, kundi isang klase ang naipakita natin na attainment data. And 4 points if you were able to monitor and evaluate learner progress and achievement based on attainment data from an individual learner. Ang nai-attach natin is monitoring and evaluation of each individual learner. Hindi isang buong klase, kundi bawat estudyante. So that's 4 points. And we'll get 5 points kung nai-involve natin ang estudyante in the monitoring and evaluation of their own progress and achievement. So, bawat monitoring and evaluating natin ng attainment data ng bawat estudyante, we make sure na na-involve natin sila, na isali natin sila, na ipaliwanag natin sa kanila ang tungkol sa kanilang progress and achievement. Okay? Para makakuha tayo ng 5 points. For the timeliness, katulad nung nauna nating non-classroom observable indicator, makakakuha tayo ng 5 points kung makakapag-attach tayo ng isang means of verification for each of the 4 quarters. Sabihin natin, katulad ng question dati, kailangan ba 4 na attachment, third quarter na lumabas yung guidelines? Well, katulad po ng sagot ko pa rin dati, it will depend on the local arrangement on your school. But, lahat naman po itong means of verification, kung titingnan natin yan lahat, with or without the guidelines, the new guidelines, meron tayo niyan per quarter. Hindi tayo mawawalan yan. Kaya, I suggest, i-attach na natin yung for the 4 quarters para makakuha tayo ng outstanding. So, we will be guided, for this objective, we will be guided by PPST 5.2.2, sabi dito sa note, PPST Resource Package Module 11 offers illustrative and instructive information that can help. So, this is PPST Resource Package Module 11, at katulad po ng dati ko pang sinasabi, these PPST Resource Package modules are downloadable from the internet. Ita-type nyo lang po, isa-search nyo lang po, PPST Resource Package, and they're ready for download. So Module 11 will tell us how to monitor and evaluate learner progress and achievement using learner attainment data. So more or less, this module will give us examples of different techniques that we can use to monitor and evaluate learner progress and achievement. As proficient teachers, we are expected to continuously assess and monitor learners' performance as part of classroom instruction. This is to determine whether our instructional strategies are working well for all learners and to identify learners who need instructional interventions. We also need to evaluate how effective our learning programs are and what adjustments can be done in the way we teach our learners. So, monitoring and evaluating learners' progress and achievement is not more for our learners, but it is more for ourselves to be able to assess if the teaching strategies that we're using is effective for every learners. So makakapag-adjust tayo if we found out that there are some strategies that we use na hindi nakakasunod yung ating mga students. In this module, we will find authentic and instructive illustrations of practice anchored on the Philippine Standards for Teachers intended to help teachers' current practice. Let us start with understanding the different key concepts for this module. Monitoring, this refers to the continuous and systematic use of data in order to track learner progress through a variety of forms such as daily learning log, class record, progress chart, checklist, and anecdotal record. Formative assessment, checking for understanding, providing feedback, and other strategies that are not standardized are used to monitor learner progress in order for teachers to appropriately address misconceptions and other learning problems. While evaluation refers to the periodic and systematic use of assessment forms and strategies, for example, quarterly assessment, pre-test, and post-test, in order to judge learner achievement, that is, how well the learner has learned the knowledge and or skills covered in a unit. Summative assessment, essays, presentation, group work, performances, and standardized tests are used to inform the teachers about their teaching. Learners are marked on formal evaluation tasks, and this mark is usually part of their report card grade. The learner attainment data that will be discussed in this module pertains to evidence or evidences and results of various assessments that are used in the monitoring and evaluation of learner progress and achievement. Let us take this example. Teacher Carla is a grade 9 teacher of English. She needs help on how to track her learners' performance more effectively. Let us take a look at the different documents that she uses to monitor her learners' performance. So she made use of the daily lesson log. Yung DLL natin, alam naman natin na part of our DLL, the part 6 is a reflection kung saan dito tayo nag-record ng index of mastery to make sure that all students are able to grasp the lesson, each lesson. So for this lesson plan, we can notice that for day 1 and day 2, there are 0 number of learners who require additional activities for remediation. Ibig sabihin, lahat gained mastery. And at the same time, for day 4 and day 5, ganun din. Puro 0 ang bawat section. But for day 3, mapapansin natin, for the section awareness, may 5 na mga students who require additional activities for remediation. That's why she provided additional activities for remediation. So, yun yung purpose ng ating reflection, yung index of mastery, so that we can come up to a solution just in case there are students who require additional activities for remediation. Now, let me introduce you to the other documents that you may use to monitor and evaluate the learner's progress and achievement. The electronic class record, including the grading sheet and summary of quarterly grades, allows the teacher to monitor individually the learner attainment data and assesses whether the learner passed or failed. With this tool, the teacher can clearly assess the progress and achievement of each learner and can provide him or her with instructional intervention or enrichment. We are all so familiar with electronic class record, grading sheet, and summary of quarterly grades. In fact, these are downloadable templates. Alam ko meron na tayong mga template nito. So you don't need to request for this template. Lahat tayo meron na tayo nito. So this is an example of electronic class record or the e-class record. Dito sa klase ni Teacher Carla, you would notice na merong isang student who failed to submit to do the summative 3 written works. The student also missed one of the performance tasks, and that leads to a failed quarterly grade. Teacher Carla has one learner who missed taking a summative assessment and doing a performance task due to non-attendance during the remaining days of the first quarter. The learner failed to report to class despite the interventions given. This is a strong indication for the teacher to have a close monitoring of the learner's performance in the succeeding grading period. So, for this one, with close monitoring of the learner who underperforms, the teacher was able to successfully exhaust all efforts to improve the learner's progress and performance as shown by the learner attainment data across grading periods. So kung mapapansin nyo, sa first grading, nagkaroon siya ng 71 kasi nga may na-miss siyang summative assessment at saka performance task. But the teacher made sure, through monitoring, the teacher was able to exhaust all efforts para ma-improve yung grade niya for the second grading. Kaya naging 80 na yung grade niya. Sa summary of a quarterly grade, kung titingnan natin yung summary of quarterly grades ni student, although nag-fail siya ng first quarter, dahil nakahabol siya ng kung mapapansin nyo, ang kanyang first quarter English, second quarter English, nakahabol siya kaya siya nagkaroon ng passing final grade. So, Teacher Carla also uses a progress chart to monitor her learners' progress quarterly based on class average. The chart helps her to have a general assessment of her learners' progress and to design activities appropriate to their level of proficiency. So, pwede din tayong gumawa ng progress chart. This is to monitor the learning progress and achievement based on the quarterly class average. Most teachers monitor learner progress informally. That is, they may not always record their impressions in any formal way or undertake more formal tasks. Monitoring and evaluating learner progress and achievement will only be effective if done systematically and accurately. In this line, the table below presents a year-round plan of monitoring and evaluation practices done by teachers. So, ang pagmamonitor po natin, hindi po siya dapat informally. We should always make sure that we evaluate learner progress and achievement religiously, systematically, and accurately. So, these are samples of different things on how we can monitor and evaluate learners' progress and achievement. For example, for the first quarter, we can do pre-test or diagnostic test, profiling of the learners, formative and summative assessment, quarterly assessment, culminating task, and then the computation of grades. For the second quarter, we can have formative and summative assessment, quarterly assessment, culminating task, and computation of grades. For the third quarter, we still have to do formative and summative assessment, quarterly assessment, culminating tasks, and computation of grades. And for the fourth quarter, meron pa rin tayong formative and summative assessment, quarterly assessment, culminating task. Magkakaroon din tayo ng post-test or achievement test because this is the last quarter of the school year, and then the computation of grades. So, ito yung mga iba't ibang pamamaraan where we can monitor and evaluate learner progress and achievement religiously, systematically, and accurately. Now, there are different illustrations of practice stated in this PPST resource package. Number 1, monitoring learners' performance through portfolio assessment. Lahat naman tayo nagpapagawa ng portfolio, and we do assessment of our students' progress and achievement through their portfolio. So the portfolio assessment and checklist, this is one way of monitoring. The major purpose of a working portfolio is to serve as a holding tank for learner work. A portfolio may also be used to diagnose learners' needs. Both learners and teachers should have evidence of the learner's strengths and weaknesses in achieving learning objectives. This type of assessment allows teachers to be more accurate in evaluating learners' mastery of content. So these are different portfolio that we can ask our students to do. The contents of a portfolio vary based on its type. There are working, display, or assessment portfolio. This should be communicated clearly to the learners. Learners can access their portfolios regularly by hanging them on a specific spot in the classroom or by keeping them in shelves and safety lockers. Usually, pinapalagay natin ang ating mga, para sa mga secondary students, pinapalagay natin yan sa folder so that they can keep track of their works. If properly utilized, a portfolio assessment can help teachers monitor and evaluate their learners' progress and achievement effectively. How do we usually do it? Number one, let us communicate clearly to the learners the objectives and rubric for the portfolio. So every activity na ipapagawa natin for the portfolio, dapat laging alam ng estudyante at naiintindihan ng objective and how they will be rated according to the rubric. Number two, ensure that the collected works of learners are related to the learning objective. Dapat lahat ng ipapagawa natin for the portfolio is in connection to the objective for that specific lesson. With this, sufficient work must be collected to provide ample evidence of learners' achievement. Number three, the teacher may provide an individual record of the learner for him or her to monitor his or her own progress weekly. Pwede tayong magpagawa sa estudyante ng tracking nila ng mga portfolio. So, ibibigay natin sila anong mga activity that they have to do for the portfolio at kung nagawa na nila ito. So, they can keep track of their work. Number four, keep a daily checklist of each learner's output. Dapat meron tayong portfolio assessment kung saan natatrack natin kung sinong mga estudyante ang nakagawa ng specific portfolio para early on magagawa natin ng paraan at ma-remind natin si student kung meron silang na-miss na activity. Number 5, monitor the completeness of the portfolio. If the work is not complete, the learner may be given a chance to finish it. And then lastly, review and evaluate the component and items in the portfolios to determine whether the learners complied with the requirements. So, example ng daily checklist. The checklist shows all the portfolio requirements, for example, localized materials, journalistic writings, at yung mga pangalan ng mga estudyante. This way, we can keep track whether or not a student was able to complete the portfolio early on. Mabre-remind natin sila and we can still give them time to complete before the computation of grade. 1.2 Assessment Rubric. Scoring guides or rubrics with clear criteria and descriptions of different levels of performance must also be developed and communicated clearly to the learners. The content must be focused and documented. So, bawat activity na ipapagawa natin for the portfolio dapat may equivalent rubric para alam nila kung paano sila makakakuha ng score for each activity. Compilation of learners' achievement data in the portfolio defeats its purpose if learners are only graded for their compliance. They must be informed about their own progress through the portfolio. Learners should have regular access to their portfolio. Those portfolios should also contain a copy of rubrics given by the teacher. Rubric as an assessment tool has two types. Meron tayong holistic and analytic. The type of rubric to be used in assessing learners' output or performance depends on the objective and type of the activity. The sample portfolio assessment rubrics presented in this module may be modified or may serve as basis for developing your own. Pwede natin itong pagbasihan sa paggawa ng ating rubric. So this is an example of analytic rubric. Each criterion or dimension or trait is evaluated separately. Ayan. So, meron tayong requirements, completion level, writing process, organization, knowledge displayed. For each of these criterion, meron silang equivalent points. So, yung requirements times 4. So, kung ano yung makukuha niyang points times 4. So, yun yung analytic rubric. In this specific sample rubric, the points received by a learner based on the indicator met are multiplied by the weight of the corresponding criterion. For example, a learner who gets 3 points or good in requirements will have his or her score multiplied by 4, which is equal to 12 points, and so on with the rest of the criteria. This is an example of a holistic rubric. All criteria are evaluated simultaneously. So, merong equivalent score if the learner. Okay? So, meron tayong mga score sa bawat performance ng learner. Illustration practice number 2, evaluating learner achievement through analysis of test. Alam na natin itong test analysis na to or item analysis. Item analysis is a process which examines learner responses to individual test items in order to assess the quality of each test item and of the test as a whole. This is to improve test items and to enhance the teacher's skills in test construction and to identify specific areas which need improvement. An effective item analysis starts from a carefully written test based on the table of specification or TOS. The competencies covered for the grading period are included and organized according to the domains of learning. The teacher makes sure that the test construction aligns with the TOS. Alam na natin kung paano gumawa ng quarterly exam based on TOS. So this is an example. This is the first quarter assessment, first quarter exam, which was based on this table of specification. So bawat domain of learning has a specific number of items. Okay? So for the item analysis, each competency should appear in the item analysis. The contents of the item analysis form are congruent to the TOS. Dapat yung competency congruent to the TOS. The data may be easily computed by entering the number of correct responses. Diba, ini-enter lang naman natin yung number of correct responses sa Excel spreadsheet. And creating simple formulas in particular groups of cells. And then, with the standard set by the teacher, he or she will be able to gauge from the item analysis the competencies that the learners still need to master. So, makikita natin agad dyan through the item analysis. Ano ba yung mga competency na kailangan pa nilang aralin? The items with low mastery may also reflect the quality of test construction. In this example of test item analysis of a grade 9 class, you can evaluate the achievement of the class in their respective learning areas. You can also determine the least mastered skills or competencies and evaluate their attainment data. In addition, you can compare the mastery level of a group of learners with other groups. You may also change the item that only a few learners answered correctly, which may indicate that the question is ambiguous or is not part of the learning competency. Another one is the frequency table with mean score, standard deviation, and mean percentage. This is used for evaluation. In addition to item analysis, you may also measure learner achievement by using a frequency table for pre-test and post-test results. The mean score, standard deviation, and mean percentage of pretest and posttest are computed and compared. So this is example of the frequency of scores is manually entered in Excel spreadsheet. So yung score, ini-enter lang natin yan manually. Then, the mean score, standard deviation, and mean percentage of pretest and posttest are automatically computed for comparison. And then learner achievement is determined by calculating the mean score or mean percentage increase from pre-test or post-test. Meron naman tayo, this is part of the item analysis template na nada-download natin. So automatic, nagko-compute na sila ng result. By analyzing test results, we can evaluate learner achievement in several areas. Specific weaknesses of an individual learner or a class can also be determined using this approach. The results of item analysis may inform us of the necessary intervention, for example, enrichment, activities, reteaching, or remediation that we can provide to the learners. Aside from analyzing test results, the following tips may be useful. Number 1, monitor and evaluate learners' progress and achievement based on their formative and summative assessment. Ito yung mga written works or performance tasks, and determine if they meet the learning goals each week. Number 2, include descriptive notes of the learner's performance after weekly measurement. Number 3, track and evaluate learners' progress and achievement using graphs or charts. Yung progress chart na pinakita natin kanina, to see if they attain the learning goals. Write a succinct interpretation of these graphs. Another illustration of practice, monitoring and evaluating learners' reading and progress and achievement through PhilErie. Reading is a big challenge for learners and a major concern for all teachers. Hence, monitoring and evaluating the reading progress and achievement of learners is requisite. The Philippine Informal Reading Inventory, or the PhilErie, provides a classroom-based assessment tool that aims to measure and describe the learner's reading performance in both English and Filipino languages, in oral reading, silent reading, and listening comprehension. PhilErie is used mandatorily in specific grade levels, but teachers in other grade levels may also adopt their reading assessment forms from the PhilErie, or use it in combination with other reliable tools of assessment, as shown in the following illustration of practice. So, ang PhilErie po can also be a tool in monitoring and evaluating learners' performance and learners' progress and achievement. So this form is used in administering the pre-reading test, oral or silent, to the learners. The teacher notes a couple of data from the learners, such as the number and types of miscues, attempts to self-correct, responses to comprehension questions, word recognition, and comprehension levels, among others. The information noted by the teacher from the learner during the pre-reading test will guide him or her in designing or adjusting classroom, small group, or individualized instruction to fit the learner's needs and abilities. Etong template for PhilErie, downloadable din po to. I'm sure may ginagamit na rin kayo sa inyong mga paaralan. Report on promotion and learning progress and achievement. At the end of the school year, teachers make a report on promotion and learning progress and achievement in accordance with the policy guidelines on classroom assessment provided by DepEd. So yung School Form 5 or yung SF5, that is another tool of monitoring and evaluating learners' progress and achievement. Monitoring of learner progress is a practice that helps teachers use learner attainment data to keep track of learners' daily performance and acquisition of skills. On the other hand, evaluation of learner achievement tells teachers whether the learner has learned the particular skills covered in a unit, but not whether the learner is learning at a pace that will allow him or her to meet annual learning goals. This is the key difference between learner progress monitoring and achievement evaluation. While both practices help teachers determine the effectiveness of their teaching and make more informed instructional decisions. So there are other illustrations of practice. The teacher regularly, that is daily or weekly, gives his or her learners assessment activities such as quizzes, seat works, group works, performance tasks, among others, to test their learners' progress and achievement. He or she tracks their progress using available monitoring sheets, for example, checklists, and identifies their least mastered skills. The teacher uses graphs or charts to analyze the test results. He or she modifies the instructional strategies based on the analysis of the learner attainment data. The teacher can also keep a daily checklist of the learner's outputs. The teacher regularly checks the portfolio to monitor if the learner is on track. The checklist shows all the portfolio requirements for the quarter with the names of each learner. The teacher monitors whether the work is complete or inadequate and whether the portfolio is regularly submitted or not. The teacher tracks the achievement of learners through achievement chart record. Using the achievement chart record, the teacher audits the record in a form of checklist indicating competencies that the learner successfully achieved. And another one, the teacher uses variety of techniques in tracking the developmental sequences of a learner's school and academic status. Variety of techniques includes appropriate utilization of data from class records and report card through progress chart review or competency monitoring grid. So maraming pamamaraan para ma-monitor natin. These are just some of the examples of on how we can monitor and evaluate learners' progress and achievement. Now the question is, sa ating RPMS portfolio, which is our concern for this video, paano tayo makakakuha ng highest possible score? For this objective, we will be assessed or rated according to quality. So makakakuha tayo, kailangan nating masigurado na makakakuha tayo ng highest possible score for this objective. Under the quality, makakakuha lang tayo ng highest possible score or outstanding 5 points if we involve learner in monitoring and evaluation of their own progress and achievement. Kailangan alam ni learner, napapaalam natin lagi sa kanila na yung monitoring and evaluation of their progress. So how do we do this? These are the different examples of means of verification na pwede nating i-provide. Pero alin ba dito ang magagamit natin na magpapakita that we involve learner in monitoring and evaluation of their own progress and achievement. Kasi hindi naman lahat to. Hindi naman natin pinapakita yung lesson plan natin showing index of mastery to each student, diba? So more or less, itong individual learning monitoring plan, pwede natin itong ipakita sa mga estudyante natin at ipaliwanag sa kanila paano to nangyari and how their progress and achievement are being monitored and evaluated. Another one is a sample of their output with reflection or self-assessment. So yung mga ginagawa nilang output, mga ginagawa nilang activities, pwede natin yung i-discuss sa kanila so that we can show that we involve them in the monitoring and evaluation of their own progress and achievement para makakuha tayo ng 5 points. Now, these are examples that I have attached for this objective. So for the first quarter, I have attached individual monitoring plan. So linagyan ko yan ng annotation para mas maintindihan ng magre-rate ng portfolio na to. From the first quarter attainment data, which includes mastery of index, quarterly exam, item analysis, and quarterly grade, I have noted that one of my students needs intervention to be able to gain mastery level on one of the subject's competency. With this, I decided to give him intervention to be able to cope up with the lesson. I also made sure that this comes with an individual learning monitoring plan with the consent of both the student and his parents. Ng individual monitoring plan na ginawa ko for particular student. So kung mapapansin nyo, may name and signature ng both student and parent. At yan ay pinaliwanag sa kanila, both sa estudyante at sa kaniyang mga parents, kung paano sinagawa. At merong consent nila. Linagyan ko na rin ng picture para proof na we involve or I involve the student and not just the student but also their parents in the monitoring and evaluating of the student progress and achievement. So with that, nakagawa na ako ng isang attachment kung saan na-involve ko ang estudyante in monitoring their own progress and achievement. That would give me 5 points na agad sa ating quality. Sabi ko nga dun sa nakaraan nating objective number 8, pag nakapag-provide ka ng isa, because we are asked to provide 1 attachment for each quarter. Pero pag isa dito ay nakuha mo na yung 5 points for the quality, then you'll get the 5 points. Kahit na all the rest, all the other 3, hindi na 5 points quality kasi nakakuha ka na ng 5 points quality. So you just have to complete the 4 required MOBs para makakuha ka ng 5 points naman sa timeliness. So for the second quarter, gumawa pa rin ako ng ng attachment kung saan ay still involved the student. Ano? So, ito yung kanilang portfolio assessment. So, linagay ko dyan yung checklist ng mga portfolio na kailangan nilang magawa at kung ano yung mga nagawa nila at na-miss. So, sa annotation ko for the second quarter, I managed to keep track of my students' portfolio. I was able to ask them to create a reflection on each of their output so they would understand the importance of each activity as part of their learning. I was able to discuss to my students their works and how missing one of the activities could impact their grades. This way, they would make sure not to miss any activity in the next quarter. So, linagyan ko na rin ng picture yan to show na I involve the student in the monitoring and evaluation of their own progress. So, dalawa na yung 5 points ko for the quality. Isa lang okay na eh. So, dinalawa ko na. Hindi kailangan dalawa ha. Makaisa lang tayo, okay na yan. For the third quarter, I have attached a copy of my e-class record as proof of my monitoring and evaluation of my students' progress and achievement. So ito, that's one of the MOVs, hindi ko na kailangang magkaroon pa ng involvement ng estudyante kasi nakagawa na ako ng dalawa, isa nga lang okay na. So pwede na tayong mag-attach na lang ng kung ano pang ibang means of verification na nasa list. And for the fourth quarter, I have attached here a copy of my fourth quarter lesson plan with the mastery of index. So, nakalagay dun sa reflection, part 6, yung kung ilang estudyante ang nakaunawa ng lesson at ilan ang kailangan ng remediation. Okay? So, yun yung index of mastery. So, meron na akong attachment for the fourth quarter. Now, we are now ready to compute for our IPCRF rating computation. So, ang ating IPCRF computation, meron na akong 5 points for the quality kasi meron akong dalawang attachment na naipakita ko that I involve students in the monitoring and evaluation of their own progress and achievement. For the timeliness, nakakuha rin ako ng 5 points kasi I was able to attach MOVs for each of the 4 quarters. So let us take a look at our portfolio. So sa ating portfolio, so for objective 11, ayaw lumabas ng So for our objective 11, ayan. So in-attach ko dyan yung first quarter na attachment ko na pinakita ko kanina, and then the second quarter, and then third and fourth quarter, and then yung ating annotation. So, sa annotation, pinaliwanag ko lang na kung paano ako nagkaroon ng 5 points for quality and 5 points for timeliness. Now, we can go to the encoding sa ating IPCRF. So, nandito na tayo sa objective 11. I-encode lang natin dito yung ating points. So, we got 5 points for the quality and another 5 points for the timeliness. So, that's it. Meron na tayong score and that will appear sa ating part 1. So, tingnan natin yung objective. Ayan, natapos na natin ang Objective 11. I hope na nakakasunod kayo sa ating pag-accomplish ng ating RPMS for Proficient Teachers. Ano po? So, natapos na natin ang Objective 11. Katulad, ulitin ko lang po, para po sa non-classroom observable indicators, Objective 8 at Objective 11. Sa quality po, isa lang po na mai-attach nyo for outstanding or score of 5, makukuha nyo na yung quality. Tapos sa timeliness, 4 po per quarter dapat may attachment kayo, pero hindi kailangang 5 points na quality. Ano po? Isa lang po, makakuha na kayo ng 5 points na quality. Pag nag-attach kayo ng 4, 1 for each quarter, that's 5 points for timeliness na. Sana naintindihan natin yun. Ano po? Sana maliwanag yun. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked the video. Please hit that like button if you do so. Para po sa mga hindi pa nakasubscribe, please subscribe to our channel and help me grow my channel para marami pa tayong matulungan. Malapit na ang ating pasahan ng RPMS. We're hoping to finish this RPMS serye 2023 by next week. Sana matapos na natin to as early as next week. Sana po talaga. And don't forget to hit that notification bell pag nag-subscribe po kayo para walang lalagpas na video sa inyo. Thank you so much. I'll see you again on our objective number 12 Keep safe, everyone, and let us always be a blessing to one another. Bye-bye.